In a small village nestled beside a winding river, spring had arrived with delicate pink blossoms and a fragrance that whispered through the bamboo groves. Chu-Ying-tai, the only daughter of a wealthy family, moved gracefully among the blooming flowers, her mind filled with both curiosity and restlessness. Her father had high hopes for her, but Ying-tai felt confined by the rigid rules of her family. She longed to see the world beyond her home, to learn more than the strict lessons her tutors offered. One morning, cloaked in simple garments to disguise herself as a young man, Ying Tai traveled to a distant school. It was an unusual decision for a girl of her status, but she had always believed that knowledge was the path to freedom. She arrived at the school and was immediately struck by the lively atmosphere. The students were deep in study, yet laughter and camaraderie filled the corridors. Among them, one young man caught her attention, Liang Shambo. Shambo was a student of quiet demeanor but unmistakable warmth. His eyes held a depth of kindness and curiosity, and his presence radiated honesty and strength. Yingtai felt an inexplicable pull toward him. She introduced herself under her assumed identity, and the two quickly became inseparable companions. Their friendship grew with each shared lesson, each exchange of ideas, and each gentle laugh that echoed through the sunlit classrooms. For 3 years, Yingtai and Shanbo studied together. They shared meals, stories, and dreams. Yingtai's heart fluttered whenever Shanbo smiled, and she found herself longing for moments when they could walk beside the riverbank, speaking in hushed tones while the willow trees swayed in the wind. Shanbo, too, cherished Yingtai's company. He admired her intelligence, her courage, and the gentle way she saw the world. Yet he remained unaware of her true identity, believing her to be a fellow male student. One day, as autumn painted the village in amber hues, Yingtai became increasingly aware of the delicate boundaries between friendship and something deeper. Every time she glanced at Shanbo, her chest tightened with longing, yet she knew she could not reveal her secret. Her heart ached with both desire and fear. She wanted to confess her true feelings, to tell Shanbo who she really was, but the rigid expectations of her family weighed heavily upon her. Despite the unspoken tension, their bond deepened. Shanbo often sought Yingtai's advice on matters of study, manners, and life, appreciating her wisdom. In turn, Yingtai treasured every moment, feeling a bittersweet happiness that came with loving someone in secret. They would spend hours by the river, writing poetry and talking about the future, their laughter blending with the soft rustle of autumn leaves. On the eve of the winter festival, Yingtai felt the weight of impending separation. She knew her father would soon summon her home, arranging a marriage to a man of wealth and status. Her heart pounded with urgency. One evening, as Shanbo recited a poem beside the flickering lanterns, Yingtai's resolve strengthened. She must find a way to reveal her true self before it was too late. With trembling hands, she placed a small token in Shanbo's palm, a delicate silk ribbon embroidered with her family crest. The ribbon was a silent message, a piece of herself that she dared not speak aloud. Shanbo looked at it curiously, sensing its importance but not understanding its full meaning. Yingtai's eyes glistened with unshed tears, and she whispered softly, "Remember me, always." That night, as she returned to her temporary lodging, Yingtai's heart was heavy with longing and fear. She had shared a piece of herself, yet she had not spoken the truth. The thought of leaving Shanbo without revealing her love was unbearable. The wind howled through the bamboo, carrying her silent plea that fate might grant them a reunion, that their hearts might find a way to recognize each other again. Shanbo, unaware of the depth of her feelings, could not shake the sense that something significant lingered in the ribbon she held. His mind wandered to Yingtai often, to the warmth of her laughter and the subtle wisdom in her words. He could not understand the longing in his chest, but it was there, undeniable. Something within him whispered that life was about to change in ways he could not yet comprehend. Thus, as the river reflected the pale moonlight and the village slept under the winter sky, two hearts quietly acknowledged an unspoken bond, a bond that was destined to challenge the very boundaries of life, love, and society. Their journey had begun, and though they could not foresee the trials ahead, the gentle power of their connection promised a story that would endure beyond the limits of time. Winter's chill had settled over the village, and the river's surface shimmered with ice and reflection. Ju Ying-tai's return home was drawing near, and the weight of her secret pressed heavily upon her. She had spent countless nights beside the lantern's glow, rehearsing how she might reveal her true identity to Liang Shanbo, yet every attempt left her heart trembling with fear. What if he could not accept her? What if the fragile bond they shared would shatter with the truth? Shanbo, meanwhile, felt a growing sense of unease. He could not understand why he longed so deeply to see Ying Tai every day, why her absence left a hollow ache in his chest. Something beyond friendship pulsed quietly, insistently within him. And yet, he trusted their bond, unaware that the woman he adored had been by his side in secret all along. On a crisp morning, Ying Tai invited Shanbo for a walk along the river. The snow had melted in patches, revealing the bright green of early spring sprouts beneath the frost. Birds chirped timidly from the branches, and the air carried the scent of wet earth. Shanbo walked beside her, noticing a subtle tension in her expression. "Shanbo," Yingtai began, her voice barely above a whisper, "there is something I must tell you, something I have kept hidden for a long time." Her heart pounded so violently that it seemed the words might fail her. Shanbo turned to her, concern in his eyes. "Yingtai, whatever it is, you can tell me. We are friends. We have shared everything for years." She took a deep breath, feeling the courage of countless sleepless nights crystallize in that moment. "Shanbo, I am not who you think I am. I have been pretending to be a young man so I could study with you. My name is Ju Ying Tai, and I am a woman." For a moment, silence stretched between them, broken only by the gentle ripple of the river. Shanbo's eyes widened in shock, then softened into a mix of awe and understanding. He looked at her closely, noticing the subtle grace in her movements, the intelligence in her gaze, and the unwavering warmth of her heart. "Ying Tai," he said finally, his voice steady yet filled with wonder. "All this time, it was you?" He reached out, brushing a lock of hair from her face. "I should have realized. There was something different about you, something I could not name." Ying Tai's eyes welled in tears, but she smiled through them, feeling a wave of relief. "Ying Tai, I have loved you, Shanbo," she admitted, her voice trembling. "From the first day we met, I was afraid that my truth would destroy the friendship we share." Shanbo's own heart ached as the realization sunk in. He had felt a longing he could not explain, a connection that went beyond words. Now the truth revealed itself in the light of her confession. Without hesitation, he took both her hands in his. "Ying Tai, I have loved you too," he said softly. "Though I did not understand it until now, my heart has belonged to you all along." The air between them seemed to shimmer as if the world itself acknowledged the union of their souls.
They walked beside the river, hands intertwined, speaking of dreams and hopes for a future that felt suddenly possible. For the first time, Yingtai felt the warmth of love fully returned, a comfort that chased away months of fear and secrecy. Yet, happiness was bittersweet. Yingtai's family would soon call her home, and her father had already arranged a marriage to a man of wealth and influence. The thought of separation cast a shadow over their newfound joy. Shanbo, sensing her sorrow, tightened his hold on her hands. "We will find a way," he promised. "No matter what obstacles come, I will not let us be apart." Days passed, and the inevitability of departure drew nearer. Each moment together became precious, each conversation and shared laugh a treasure to be remembered. They walked through flower-filled fields, wrote poetry under the starlit sky, and dreamed of a life where love could triumph over duty and expectation. On the eve of her return home, Yingtai and Shanbo sat beneath an ancient willow, its branches brushing the ground like delicate curtains. The river reflected the pale moonlight, and the night air was filled with the quiet symphony of nature. Yingtai rested her head on Shanbo's shoulder, and he held her close, reluctant to let go. "Promise me," Yingtai whispered, "that even if we are separated, you will remember me, that our hearts will not forget one another." "I promise," Shanbo replied, pressing his forehead to hers. "Our souls are bound, Yingtai. Distance cannot erase what we share." When morning came, Yingtai left for her home, her heart heavy but fortified by Shanbo's love. Shanbo watched her carriage disappear down the winding path, clutching the ribbon she had given him months ago, a symbol of a love that now had truth and substance. The separation was painful, yet it was not the end. Their hearts beat in unison, carrying hope and longing across the miles that lay between them. But fate, as often happens, is rarely kind. The path to love would not be smooth, and the choices of others would soon cast shadows over the hearts of Liang Shanbo and Zhu Yingtai. In the quiet of his study, Shanbo stared at the silk ribbon and whispered her name, unaware that destiny had already begun its cruel design.
Spring had begun to bloom across the village, and yet for Liang Shanbo, the world felt muted and gray. Since Zhu Yingtai's departure, he could hardly concentrate on his studies, his mind wandering endlessly to the girl who had revealed her heart to him. Every riverbank, every willow tree, every flutter of birds reminded him of her. He clutched the silk ribbon she had left him, tracing the delicate embroidery with his fingers, and whispered her name into the wind, hoping it would carry his longing to her. Meanwhile, Yingtai faced her own trials. Her father, unaware of the deep bond she shared with Shanbo, pressed her toward a marriage she did not desire. Each discussion felt like a tightening chain around her spirit. Though she had returned home filled with hope for a life with Shanbo, the reality of duty and family expectations crushed her. Nights were the hardest, when silence and shadows magnified her loneliness. She longed for the comfort of Shanbo's presence, for the gentle laughter and shared dreams that had once lit up her days. Despite the distance, the two lovers wrote letters to each other in secret, their words carrying the warmth and tenderness that had always defined their bond. They spoke of longing, of hope, of the life they wished they could lead together. But the letters were intercepted and withheld by Yingtai's family, and the cruel force of circumstance began to wedge itself between them. Shanbo, unaware of the interception, waited anxiously for each reply, his hope fading as days turned into weeks. He began to sense that some invisible barrier had grown between them, a weight he could not lift no matter how fiercely he wished. The ribbon she had given him, once a symbol of joy and closeness, became a bittersweet reminder of love constrained by forces beyond their control. One evening, Shanbo visited a friend who had connections to Yingtai's household, hoping to gain news of her well-being. What he learned struck him like a blow.
Yingtai's father had arranged her engagement to a wealthy scholar from another province. The realization plunged Shanbo into despair. Though he had promised himself to fight for their love, he now faced the immovable wall of duty and expectation. Yingtai, too, wrestled with heartbreak. She had never wished to defy her family openly, yet every day that passed without Shanbo by her side felt like a slow, unbearable agony. Her thoughts returned constantly to the riverbanks they had walked together, the willow trees under which they had shared dreams, and the whispered promises of love. She wished she could escape, could run to him, but the weight of her father's expectations and the rigid rules of her society made that impossible. Days turned into weeks, and the inevitability of her marriage drew ever closer. The closer it came, the more Shanbo's heart ached. He tried to throw himself into his studies, into work, into any distraction he could find, but every attempt failed. The memories of Yingtai were relentless. Her laughter, her gaze, the subtle courage in every word. Each memory was a dagger that left him both grateful for their love and shattered by its fragility. Then came the day when Yingtai was to leave for the groom's home. The village seemed unnaturally quiet, as if the world itself mourned the separation. Shanbo, desperate, hurried to the main road in hopes of seeing her one last time. He arrived too late, only to see the carriage disappear into the distance, carrying her away into a future he could not share. Shanbo sank to the ground, clutching the silk ribbon to his chest. The river beside him reflected the sorrow in his eyes, and for the first time he felt the crushing weight of helplessness. "Yingtai," he whispered through choked sobs, "I will find you no matter the cost. Even if the world stands against us, my heart will not forget you." Yingtai, sitting within the carriage, felt the ribbon pressed against her own heart, a small comfort amid overwhelming sorrow. She longed to see Shanbo, to feel the warmth of his hands and hear his voice, yet the walls around her, walls of duty, expectation, and family, were impenetrable. Every mile that carried her farther from him was a mile that deepened the ache in her heart. Their love, so radiant and pure, now seemed trapped between the impossible demands of society and the unstoppable force of fate. Days blurred into nights, and the two hearts beat in silent, separate agony. Letters never reached their intended destinations. The river that had once been a place of shared joy now symbolized separation and longing. Yet even in their despair, Shanbo and Yingtai's love endured. It was no longer a simple warmth of companionship, but a profound, unyielding connection that neither time, distance, or circumstance could diminish. The world had turned against them, yet their hearts remained tethered, like twin flames separated by the cruel gusts of destiny, each burning quietly in the darkness, waiting for a moment when perhaps fate might relent. And so, as Yingtai approached her forced future, and Shanbo remained behind clutching the symbol of their love, the stage was set for the final tragedy, a moment where longing, heartbreak, and the power of love would collide, leaving an eternal imprint upon the world. Spring had fully arrived, yet the world seemed cold to Liang Shanbo. He wandered the village and riverbanks aimlessly, a shadow of the joyful young man he once was. Every corner reminded him of Zhu Yingtai, the laughter they had shared, the poetry they had written, the silent promises of love whispered beneath willow trees. Now, with her forced marriage looming, the weight of impossibility pressed upon him like a stone on his chest. Shanbo's friends tried to comfort him, but no words could ease the ache that filled his heart. Each day, he carried the silk ribbon she had given him, tracing its delicate embroidery as if doing so could summon her back. He had loved her with a depth that surpassed life itself, and yet fate seemed determined to keep them apart. On the day of her wedding, Shanbo could bear it no longer. He ran through the streets, calling her name, his voice breaking through the bustling preparations. But he was too late. The carriage had already departed, carrying Yingtai toward a life she did not choose. In that instant, Shanbo's grief became unbearable,
a torrent of heartbreak that surged through him and would not be denied. The following days were marked by relentless despair. Shanbo's health began to fail. He stopped eating, stopped speaking, his body weakened by the relentless sorrow of losing the woman he loved. Villagers watched with heavy hearts, understanding that this was no ordinary illness. It was a heartbreak that consumed the very soul. Yingtai, meanwhile, suffered quietly within her new home. She respected her family's authority, but could not find peace. Each night, she gazed at the moon, imagining Shanbo beside her, longing to be free to return to him. She carried his memory in every thought, every heartbeat, yet circumstances made their reunion impossible. As weeks passed, Shanbo's condition grew critical. He could no longer rise from his bed, and his breaths came shallow and fragile. Yet even in his fading moments, he thought only of Yingtai, murmuring her name with a tenderness that transcended the physical limits of his body. Finally, on a warm spring evening, Shanbo's spirit gave way to the unbearable longing. Surrounded by concerned villagers, he closed his eyes and whispered, "Yingtai, wait for me. Always." And with that, he passed from the world, his heart never having been able to bear the separation from the woman he loved. Word of Shanbo's death reached Yingtai as she returned briefly to the riverbank to pay respects. The grief that swept over her was incomprehensible, a sorrow so profound it felt as though the world itself had been torn from her. She ran to his grave, collapsing beside it, tears streaming freely. "Shanbo, I am coming," she whispered, her voice trembling with desperation. "I cannot live without you." In a final act of devotion and sorrow, Yingtai leaned into the earth above Shanbo's grave, her heart breaking with the weight of love and loss. Nature seemed to respond to their devotion. Trees swayed gently, the river whispered softly, and the flowers they had once walked among bloomed brighter than ever, as though celebrating the eternal connection between the two souls. From that day forward, the story of Liang Shanbo and Zhu Yingtai was told and retold. Lovers who visited the river would pause to remember the two souls who had dared to love so completely, even in the face of impossible odds. The willow trees whispered their names, and the river reflected their boundless devotion. Their love became legend, a story of longing, heartbreak, and ultimate reunion. Though human lives are fragile and fleeting, Shanbo and Yingtai showed that true love, pure and unselfish, could surpass even death. The butterflies that danced above the river were not merely insects, but eternal spirits, carrying the memory of two hearts that had loved so fiercely that even the world could not keep them apart. And so the tale ended, not in despair, but in the triumph of love eternal, a gentle reminder to all who hear it that true devotion, even in death, leaves a beauty that time cannot erase. The river flows on, the willow branches sway, and the butterflies continue to dance, forever bound, forever together.